What is up, Watch Fam? I am Christian from Theo and Harris.
And I'm Anna from Theo and Harris.
And today, we're going to be talking about 3 Rolex Submariner alternatives under $4,000. Rolex Submariner is one of the most famous watches ever, one of the most desired watches, probably one of the most faked watches ever. Instead of buying a fake one or having to splurge when there is no necessary splurge, subs are significantly more than $4,000. These alternatives will definitely do the trick, and maybe even for you, better than a sub. Cool. Wristwatch check. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I am wearing my pull router. Very familiar. If you've seen basically any videos that I'm in, I'm usually wearing this watch.
Beautiful watch.
But it's on a cool double Torame strap.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I would wear that if I was a little bit more confident. It's one of the few things I won't wear. It's a double twist strap. I'm wearing a watch that is very appropriate for today's video. This actually is a Rolex Submariner. It's a reference 16800. I'm very bad with references. It's a beautiful watch, tritium dial. The plots have turned like custard. The Mercedes hands have turned custard. What's really rare is even the pearl in the bezel insert. The bezel insert is actually turned blue, which is gorgeous. But the pearl is custard. A lot, these pearls at one time were prone to breaking, so it's rare to find one that is this original. This is available in the Theo and Harris watch shop. Probably one of the best Submariners I've seen in a long time. Before we get into the watches, I want to remind you all about this month's giveaway. We give away a watch here at Theo and Harris every month. Last month's watch was noticed as Avalon. It was like an $800 dive watch, a really great watch. Loved our time with it, and we literally just gave it away to someone, and all they had to do was sign up and subscribe. So subscribe and sign up to the giveaway down below in the description. It is the easiest thing you'll do today, and the odds are actually pretty decent. Like, you get an email sometime this month like, hey, you want to watch. We're also going to be doing more giveaways too, so sign up. All right, so let's get into 3 alternatives. First of all, we have to talk about what is a Rolex Submariner alternative. I need to boil it down to 5 variables. What are they?
And while these criteria can definitely change depending on who you are, this is what we've decided is the base core 5 things you need if you're, in theory, trying to fill the place of a Rolex Submariner. So the first qualification is that it is, in fact, a dive watch. And if you don't know what that is, check out our recommended video in the Teenage Rex below, which we cover what a dive watch is and how to use one. The second is that it's monochromatic and simple in color. The watch is steel, probably, or maybe titanium.
They made Submariners in gold, but I agree with you. I definitely agree. Submariner alternative should be steel.
The watch is time only, or maybe time and date. And then fifth, and this is sort of subjective, but that the watch is versatile, meaning you can dress it up in a nicer outfit and you can wear it very sporty and casually.
Was actually one of, as far as I've read, that was actually one of the original points of the Submariner, was to be somewhat versatile. Not just to be a tool watch, but to be a watch that actually could be worn every day and could even be dressed up a little bit. I don't know if I'd wear a sub with a suit, but I know a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so the first Rolex Submariner alternative, this one falls around $600, is Marnaut's Dark Surge. First things first. It's a dive watch. It's 300 meters water resistant, which, like we said, is probably more so than any of the other criteria non-negotiable when it comes to talking about Rolex Submariner alternatives. It's an automatic watch. It's powered by Miyota's 90-15 movement. It measures 42 millimeters in diameter, which is 2 millimeters larger than Submariners. But even Submariners wear differently. You know, vintage subs at 40 wear more, in my opinion, around the 39 range, whereas modern subs are wearing 40 plus. You know, so it's very funny with case thickness and stuff like that. So bigger watch still, I think, definitely qualifies.
I think a lot of men specifically who buy watches like this often have bigger wrists, and so even if they're below 40, it's like that kind of seems a little too dressy for a lot of people. So I think 40 and above, it's okay.
Yeah, I do think so too. I think that 42 is probably better than 38 for most people.
Yeah, I agree.
It comes on a silicone strap, which is something that I basically begged Rolex to do for Baselworld. I would love to see Rolex offer their Oysterflex bracelets on Submariners. Like I said in a previous episode, I can't imagine people, you know, when buying a sub and being offered an extra strap or a rubber band for an extra $1,000, people are going to say yes. You're going to be like, oh, wait, I get to preserve my bracelet?
Right,
oh, wait, I get to be more sporty? Definitely. So, I mean, to me, that's obviously a layup. So the Dark Surge meets all the qualifications, but for me, that's not necessarily enough to be considered interesting, per se. There are plenty of, you know, homage watches that meet the qualifications of Rolex Submariner alternative that just don't do it for me. But this watch actually doesn't pull its inspiration from the Submariner, which I think is so cool. Dial is really interesting. Being that of a dive watch, Marnaut actually took their inspiration from the shell of a sea urchin, which I never would have guessed. The watch reminds me of one of the vintage nautical watches from Vulcan, which I absolutely love. I think they're some of the coolest dive watches or coolest, like water tool watches of all time.
Yeah.
That's what originally grabbed me with this watch. And again, at a price point of $600, I kind of think it's a no-brainer.
Yep.
I really do.
Yep, and I like that it has that about it, that element, because they're not just pulling from Rolex. They're pulling from something totally different, so they fit into this category really well.
This is a Rolex Submariner alternative under $1,000 that is paying no homage to Rolex, which I think is a rarity. Great job to Marnaut, and thank you for partnering with us on this video. Geeks, the link to their Dark Surge is down below in the description, so head on over and check it out. Number 2, we're going up in price up to $2,100, so it's 3.5 times the price of the Marnaut. So let's dive in.
So first things first, the Oris Diver 65 is technically a dive watch, but its water resistance at 100 meters does leave something to be desired. The Rolex Submariner and the Marnaut was 300 meters, and that's safer. I don't know that I would take this very far underwater.
I love the watch, but I just don't understand why they wouldn't just, increase the depth rating.
Yeah.
I don't really get it. $2,100, I think it should be better.
The watch is pretty conservative in color. They do have blue, they have black and white, and they have this faux patina, which I like. I know that you like.
I love it.
Yeah, faux patina is kind of controversial, but I think that it works really well on this watch. It's definitely not muted, but conservative. And so that fits that monochromatic design. The watch is in steel and it has a date, and I think it's executed super well on this dial. And then the last point in terms of versatility, definitely is sporty in its dive nature, and it has the bezel and the screw down crown. But I do think that you can dress it in a couple different ways because of the faux patina, because of the blue. So I think there are a lot of options there.
I've liked this watch since it came out. There are a bunch of different variations, which I think is kind of annoying. I think that it cheapens it a little bit. I wish they had fewer variations.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think I like every single one of them, or I like 90% of the variations.
Which is good.
I think the blue is beautiful. It's subtle. It's pretty midnight, but it has nice texture to it. And Oris has been making divers just like this since the mid 20th century. $2,100 isn't cheap. I wouldn't say this watch is 3.5 times that of the Marnaut, but I think it really is beautiful. I think it's definitely something worth owning. And our last Rolex Submariner alternative under $4,000 falls just under $4,000, 37 and change on a bracelet, $3,400 in a NATO strap, which I actually prefer over the bracelet. It's a great watch. Everyone loves it. I mean, the Tudor's Black Bay has been met with tremendous reception since the day it was introduced. I think in 2012, 2013. I know it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it has.
That's been a long time.
I know. People have been begging for a Tudor Submariner, and I get it. I wish Tudor made a sub as well, but I think that in begging for a sub, you're cannibalizing the Black Bay. What's the difference then between the sub and the Black Bay?
What's the difference?
You know what I mean? Like, I get it. It would be really cool to have a Tudor reissue sub. But, gotta say, the Black Bay is at least a new invention. It's not a reissue. The Black Bay is an evolution of the Tudor Submariner.
Yeah.
And I really respect that.
I think it's beautiful. It's a great watch, super reliable. It's from Tudor, a great brand.
Its water resistance rating is 200 meters, right between the Oris and the Marnaut. Yeah. Automatic movement, of course, and a ton of variations, much like the Oris.
Yes.
There are many out there. There's the black, there's the red, there's the Harrods, there's, all these different, there's like, I don't even know, bronze. I mean, all these different variations out there. And which I do like. I said with the Oris, I do think that a ton of variations in a way can kind of cheapen what you do, but when you're a watch that's under $4,000, you don't have to pretend as if you're Rolex. That's kind of the point here. All of these watches, and I know that Tudor, is a Rolex brand. Tudor is historically just like Rolex, but everyone here is pretty independent of that Rolex shadow.
Yeah.
Rolex casts a big shadow, and there are so many brands that swim in its shadow or whatever. But all of these brands do a pretty good job of remaining independent. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do not forget to head on over and watch today's recommended video, which is how to use a dive watch. I know it sounds obvious, but it really isn't.
It's not.
You had to school me on it.
I did.
Thank you guys so much again for watching. See you all very soon.